So before I married my husband, he admitted to me to have a one-night stand with my cousin. It was a long time ago, it was way before we even knew each other. I don't blame them for it happening. But then, I started to get red flag after red flag after red flag. Well, let me tell you why all these red flags became very important. Hey, my name's Amber, and I'm a fashion designer. I also own my own boutique, and I've been reading a lot of cheating stories on the interwebs. I've been getting them a lot since my research history consists of research about how I should proceed if my husband cheated on me. I'm going through a divorce because my husband, Zachary, cheated on me with my cousin Elena. See, I married Zach after he proposed to me on our first relationship anniversary. When I introduced my fiancé to my family, it was a surprise to me that Elena, my uncle's daughter, already knew him. Zach explained that he had a one-night stand with her a long time ago, and now they have nothing to do with each other. Zach and I got married, and Elena attended our wedding too, and after the wedding, Zach's loving and caring attitude changed, and my dreamy marriage turned into a nightmare. I tried hard to save our relationship and hoped that Zach would change. I was desperate to have things the way that they were before rather than calling out his toxic behavior, and I started to believe everything he was saying, even when there were signs that he was unfaithful to me. On our first wedding anniversary, I came home to find Zach and Elena making out in our bedroom. Something came over me and I started my Instagram live just to expose the duo. I kicked Zach out and now I'm divorcing him. Let me give you guys a backstory though. Zach and I have known each other since school because we've been living in the same town. Everyone knows each other here, and Zach and I got talking when he came in at closing time just to pick up his sister's prom dress. We were both walking into the same direction home, and we got to talking. Zach had a long day, and he asked me whether I would join him for a beer. Well, I wasn't doing anything that evening, and I was single, so I agreed. I found him cute, and I spent most of the evening laughing at his stupid jokes. The smile faded off my face when I saw my ex-boyfriend walk in with his new girlfriend. It had just been a month since we broke up, and it was a 4-year relationship, because he, quote, wanted to be alone for some time. I told Zach about it, and when my ex saw me across the bar, Zach took my hand and kissed me. He did that because he thought I would feel better, making my ex jealous, and it definitely felt damn good. And that's how my relationship with Zach started. I might add that he made the right move at the right time, because I would have never let that slide. Zach has quite a lot of wanderlust. He travels a lot. I have my own business, so I could close whenever I wanted to, but I was afraid to do so. Zach is a real estate broker. He travels a lot during the holidays and wants me to travel with him. At first, I was reluctant because it would mean that I would have to be closed for a few days. When he offered to take me trekking, I refused because I did not want to leave work pending and there would be no one to speak to my clients. I usually get the most clients during the holidays, and Zach gave me the idea of hiring someone underneath me so that they could be there when I wasn't. So I hired Yuki, 22, female, and aspiring fashion designer. Yuki could not get a professional education but had been taught to stitch by her family. In fact, even I had to learn from her, because she's been stitching ever since she was 8 years of age. And I was sure about her. I entrusted Yuki with the shop and went on trips with Zach. Zach and I had an amazing relationship, and we did have our arguments, but nothing too big. We usually went on a weekend road trip, but decided to spend our anniversary on a tropical vacation. We arrived a day before our anniversary and checked in the afternoon, and I looked at the itinerary and told Zach that we should do something memorable tomorrow for our first anniversary. He had planned the day so that we would be together in our room the whole day and have dinner in the evening. He promised me that my day would be memorable. It turns out that he proposed to me the next day, on our relationship anniversary, and I was extremely confused because it was so unexpected. And I thought he was joking. When I was sure that he wasn't kidding without skipping a beat, I said yes. It seemed right at the moment, and I was living in some fairy tale fantasy. After starting my relationship with Zach, I started doing things in my life that I've never done. Zach's the kind of guy who lives in the present and wants to live life to the fullest. His principles influenced me too, and I was having fun living by his ways. I was sick and tired of living by complying with my parents' orthodox ways. My relationship with Zach felt like I was being freed from a cage which I had been in all my life. I wanted to live like that for the rest of my life, and that's why at the time I did not regret hastily saying yes to Zach. A lot of you might judge me and think that I'm defending myself, but I'm not at all saying I was right. I'm just trying to explain what I was feeling at the time. When we came back, we went to Zach's parents' house where he lived and told his parents about our engagement. His parents were delighted, and his mom even said, "I knew there would be someone who would fix him." I was confused by that statement, but paid no heed to it and brushed it off. We had discussed that we would stay at my apartment since I already lived independently. We nervously went to my parents' house next to reveal that we had gotten engaged. I had asked them to call the whole family and told them I wanted to make an announcement. When we got there, my whole family was waiting for us, eager to know what the big announcement was about. Before I could say anything, my cousin Elena rushed to Zach and threw her arms around him to hug him. Zach seemed rather shocked by her presence, and I was shocked and confused too. I told everyone that Zach and I were getting married. After my announcement, Elena backed off, but I was still confused and curious as to why she would hug my fiancé upon seeing him. She didn't live in the same town as me, and it seemed unlikely that she knew him already, but she clearly had some sort of connection to him. Even if they were acquainted, a hug seemed a very intimate sort of greeting, you know? I know her, so I know she wasn't the kind of person who goes around and just gives out free hugs. I was constantly thinking of the endless possibilities for the rest of the evening, while we all went out to a restaurant for dinner. I could not help but notice there was this strange eye contact between Zach and Elena. On one occasion, Elena found Zach alone, and they were discussing something. I made my way to join them in their conversation, but as soon as I joined, they were silent. I invited Zach over to my apartment after dinner so I could have a word with him. Even Zach knew what was going to happen, and the ride home was extremely awkward and silent. But I did not want to begin the talk in the car. When we got home, I asked Zach about Elena, and he knew the question was coming because his answer to the question seemed prepared. Zach admitted that he met Elena before and was her guide for an all-girls trek group. He told me he had a one-night stand with her, and they never contacted each other afterward. It was all too much for me to process, and it was a weird coincidence. I let it go, because it was not Zach's fault, nor was it Elena's, but it did nonetheless make things very awkward. I had to invite Elena because she's part of the family, and we were close as kids because we spent our holidays at our grandfather's beach house before our grandparents died. But after high school, we drifted apart. We could see each other often but not speak to each other, and I sent them the invitation, but deep down I was praying that they would skip the wedding. I would have normally made her my bridesmaid, but because of our weird situation, I preferred not to. My aunt, Elena's mom, expressed that she was upset that I excluded Elena from my bridesmaids gang. I could not tell her the truth, but I tried my best to avoid her. Elena still came to my wedding, and I wished that she had not, because surprisingly she was staring at Zach for the entire duration of the wedding. I could see the envy on her face, and it really bothered me. My parents had given us a honeymoon package as a wedding gift, and we had a 10-day honeymoon, which I thoroughly enjoyed. When we returned home, Zach expressed his disappointment with the arrangements for our honeymoon. I didn't find anything wrong with it, but I understood that since Zach was an avid traveler, the trip might not have met his expectation. So I tried to defend my parents, but he just continued to deprecate them, which led to a huge fight between us. I get defensive over my parents and could not stand him bad-mouthing them. I could not go on arguing over this, and I felt that it wasn't taking us anywhere. So I decided that we would not talk about it altogether and sort of surrendered to his perspective. The marriage brought a lot of arguments with it, making it evident that our honeymoon phase was over. I thought that having arguments was normal, and I realize now that that was not normal, nor was the frequency of them, and the fact that he would gaslight me and convince me that I was the issue. All these arguments ended with me being made to apologize for the sake of ending the topic. I'd slowly started questioning my decision to marry Zachary. I had begun to try to delay or avoid conflict by spending more time actually away from him. Well, the more that he would appreciate my existence in life, I tried to be the best wife for him and bowed down to everything he said in the hopes that he would just devalue me. Instead of appreciating me, he starts taking me for even more granted and felt entitled to the many things that I did for him that no other woman would do. When I realized that he was taking me for granted, it had become too late to set boundaries. If I withdrew, he would immediately notice changes in my behavior and accuse me of losing love for him. Update number 1. Hello again. I'll start where I left off last time because I was simply tired of narrating the whole stuff and remember how I made a mistake by trusting my Zach and he turned my dream of happily ever after into a complete nightmare. So, before we got married, I was a huge part of his life. And he would go out with me on trips and take me to parties. All that stopped and he told me that he would rather go alone and that he needs his space too. He would come home late most evenings and give me silly excuses. He'd started to sideline his occupation and spend more time traveling or at parties. Of course, I would encourage anybody to do that since they love doing stuff like that, but the world doesn't work like that. I was starting to despise his frivolous behavior, which attracted me in the first place, and things were getting difficult for me because I was literally babysitting a man-child who refused to take responsibility for anything. So, I confronted him about his ways, and his answer was that it was my responsibility to pay for the things because it's my house, and that he would be happy to leave if it was such a burden. The nerve he had to say that to me. He then had the audacity to tell me that I should be grateful that he was helping with the expenses and easing the burden on me anyways. All my doubts about whether my marriage was a mistake were clear that day. I knew it was 100% a mistake. I wanted to try to rectify my mistake, but instead of leaving, I tried to figure out ways to make him stay and never leave. I aspired to fix him and make him a better person for me. I've trapped myself in a bubble filled with delusion, and I've began to watch videos on manifestation and how to make yourself irresistible. I could not keep it inside me, so I shared some insight into myself with Yuki, who tried to tell me in a soft way that whatever I was doing was a complete and utter bullcrap. I wish somebody had slapped me out of my delusion at the time. One day, I come home from a fashion expo that I've gone to with my friends and Yuki. That day, my friends had given me a piece of their mind about Zachary. We'd gone to get drinks after the expo, and I was kinda tipsy when I got home. Zach went to the bathroom, and I was really hungry, so I went to go order food. My phone switched off, and I grabbed Zach's phone to order food instead. A notification popped up on his phone containing a rather unusual text message. It was a picture taken by Elena. She was in her lingerie and biting her lip in the picture. It was followed by more text, and I read up, and the conversation was full of text messages, but there was no reply from Zachary. I verified the number, and it was not the same number I had for Elena. I was so mad, I immediately confronted Zachary about all the text and forced him to come out of the bathroom. At first, Zach was furious upon discovering that I've opened up his phone. I wasn't having any of his crap that day. I lashed out at him, and was getting ready to go straight to Elena and confront her too. Zach then made efforts to calm me down, and he told me that Elena's been trying to pursue him, and that Zach's trying to ignore her. Well, I asked him why he didn't tell me, and he told me that he didn't want to upset me or cause any family drama. His story is quite convincing, and I believed whatever he told me, and I did not see that he didn't reply to any of the texts, so I thought he was clean. A few days later, it was seemingly a normal day, but something major happened. I left a client's measurements at home, and I asked Yuki to go get them because it was oh so urgent. It was the holiday season, so, I was extremely busy with work. I gave Yuki the apartment keys so she could go in and get the measurements, and I left near my computer in my bedroom. Yuki came back from the apartment alarmed, and without the piece of paper in hand, and I asked her to bring it. I said, "Well, what's wrong, Yuki?" She made a shocked revelation. She told me that my husband is with another woman undressed in the bedroom. I dropped everything and went straight home. When I went home, Zach was there, but there was no one else. I asked him who was in my apartment. I was in tears, and he lied to me and told me that Yuki made a move because he confronted her about stealing from my boutique. He showed me footage on my laptop, and Yuki was handling money from my cash drawer to some stranger outside my shop. Yuki, who I'd brought along with me, was in tears. She tried to stutter, but I didn't listen to a word she said. Zach then gaslighted me and was angered over how I trusted Yuki and not him. Zach was extremely upset, and I tried to apologize multiple times. I was furious. I was heartbroken by Yuki's betrayal. I considered her to be a good friend of mine, and I really wanted the best for her. Things were cold between Zach and me, but our anniversary was indeed coming up. Zach wanted a specific camera for his trekking adventures, which I was planning to buy for him. I thought Zach would wish me at midnight, but it seemed he completely forgot, and I planned to surprise him and take him out for the evening. I went to his office to surprise him, but he wasn't there. I didn't see his friends post anything about a boys' night on social media, so I knew he would be home. I went home, and it was late afternoon, so I was not usually home at the time, and neither was he. Zach has this habit of leaving the lights on, even if it's bright. I saw the lights from underneath the door, and I knew that he was home, and I tried to not make any noise at all. Opened the lock very quietly and crept into our bedroom to surprise him. The TV was on and blasted at full volume, so there's no way that he could hear me. I put the cake and the gift I bought for him on the table, and I tiptoed to the bedroom, careful not to give him away when I was at home to surprise him. What I found in my bedroom was shocking. My husband was in bed with my cousin, and they were kissing. They were so into each other they couldn't even hear me gasp or see me standing right there at the door. I didn't want him to make any silly excuse of it. At that point, I was just filled with desires to take revenge. So, I opened up my camera and started a live session on Instagram. Yep, you read it right. All his friends, families, our families, everyone followed us along with most of the people in the town. I usually do live sessions, so a lot of people joined. I even have 50,000 followers, so I'm talking business. They were making out for a whole 5 minutes before I caught Elena's eyes. I even recorded their reaction on the live video and told them to smile for the camera. Zach was making so many excuses and blaming Elena for the whole thing. Elena and Zach started throwing blame at each other. I told Zach that I was giving him an hour to get dressed, pack, and leave the house because I never wanted to see his face again. I also took the cake and threw it at his face and wished him a happy damn anniversary. Update number 2. Hey guys, it's going to be a short update about what transpired after I caught my husband cheating with my cousin, because I'm going to give you a longer update soon. So I left, took the camera with me, returned it, and bought my girls a drink that day. Towards the end of the night, I was extremely drunk and in tears, and my girls dropped me home. I prayed that Zach wouldn't be there because I didn't want to see him. Zach and Elena both left. Zach went back to his parents' house, and the next day I saw my phone and it was filled with missed calls, voice messages about Instagram Live the previous day. I'd also posted it live so everyone who had not seen it can watch it later. I was filled with immense regret about my reaction and felt I should not have shown my personal life to everyone. But hey, they're the ones who were going to suffer because I got a lot of support from people and gained followers and popularity overnight. I saw the insights in the post and there were so many shares, comments, likes, I couldn't even imagine. I did not pick up anyone's calls and the news had reached my parents. So I went to see them and told them that I was not going to talk to anyone in the family. My uncle gave Elena a piece of his mind and no one's speaking terms with her anymore. I filed for divorce and sent him the notice at his parents' house. Sources tell me his parents are unhappy with him, obviously, and also with the humiliation they're facing in society. I also got angry voice messages from them when I didn't pick up the phone, and they're all out of opinions that I could have handled the situation more maturely. They should tell their son to be more mature rather than teach me. And man, do I owe Yuki an apology. So I went to her house and she explained that the CCTV footage was just her paying the pizza delivery guy. I felt so guilty for my actions. I hugged her. I apologized. I told her that she could join me again, and I knew I didn't deserve it. But I promised her that I would try my best to make it up to her, and I never imagined a year ago that I would be traumatized by the 2-year-old relationship. Would be cheated on by my husband with my cousin, and would be divorcing the man I thought was the love of my life. All this sounds so gross, so disgusting. I can't believe it was my cousin. Now I have to just wait and see what happens. Update number 3. Hey, so I have to update you all about what happened. I want to tell you all that I am now divorced and Zachary's out of my picture. I want to share the details. I want to start off by saying that yes, I agree I was stupid. It doesn't mean that I should be filled with hate because I was blinded by my love for my husband. You have to understand that trust is an integral part of a relationship, and I wasn't wrong for trusting him. Everybody wants to try to save their marriage, and I don't deserve to hear that I deserved it or that I brought it upon myself. What I'm going through is already bad enough. I don't think people realize that I know and I accept it was a mistake, and people don't need to go crazy in the comments. This post is for the few people who are like me. And even if their partners are not cheating on them, I hope I inspire them to take the step towards freeing themselves from the shackles of a toxic relationship. On the other hand, there were lovey comments that were very supportive and just empathizing with my story, and a lot of people have been where I'm at, so I'm not the only one. It's easier to comment or have an opinion when you're seeing things from a different perspective, but being in that turmoil, it's a lot more difficult. Things don't make sense, you don't know what you're doing, and when you're attached to someone you love, you don't want to let them go. And you're willing to fight for them. Many times you believe the lies they tell because you subconsciously just want those lies to be the truth. Now, moving on to what you readers have been eagerly waiting for. Of course, I was going to mess him over. I was not going to be that one person who let things go, because honestly, a lesson taught to one is a lesson for all. I wasn't going to let him go. I wasn't really in the position to teach Elena a lesson, and I realized that I should not waste my time on her too much. Her parents already disowned her, and now she has to pay for everything. They even spent the money they saved for her dream wedding on a long vacation, and now the poor girl lives in a cramped apartment with a couple of roommates. I was going to just get a divorce from Zach, and it was granted on the grounds of adultery. I even managed to prove to the judge that I was responsible for 80% of the expenses in our marriage and that he wasn't contributing much despite me asking him to do so. Well, the court made him pay a hefty amount in alimony because of all the expenses, and I had to bear in my marriage, and because he cheated on me, which was damaging to my mental health, Zach was kicked out of his house by his parents and he had zero savings. He had a hard time managing his own expenses and he had to pay me too. One of his friends told me that the reason he married in the first place was because he needed someone to take care of his expenses, because his parents were pressurizing him to move out. So basically, he just wanted the babysitter for himself. Me. Wow. I deleted the video I put online, but I have to give the video huge credit, because it was shared so much that it made my page blow up. And I got a lot of clients after that. A lot of people noticed my talent through my page, and I got new clients from other cities even. I had to start a home delivery and pickup service too. Everything's going great for me after my divorce, but things have gone downhill for Elena and Zach. Serves them right. I am not making excuses for Elena and Zachary, but at the same time, I did read some very interesting comments that was basically saying OP Amber could actually be implicated on charges for what she did. Well, what do I mean by that? I mean, she did upload to social media a very, very inappropriate video that included 2 other people that she did not get consent from. So, I do agree with those comments. At the end of the day, that was probably not the best choice of action, but we all know, everyone who's been here for a while understands how wild some of these stories can get, and the human emotions can just boil up and, well, over-bubble out of the cup. I want to know your thoughts about this story, guys. Do you think it was way too far, and possibly could even be given criminal charges for OP posting this video on social media? Let me know about it, guys. Let's talk about it down below in the comment section. My name's Mr. Reddito. I narrate stories like this every day. Cheating stories, inheritance dramas, mother-in-law disputes, Karen in the Wild stories, HOA dramas, everything you can think of. There's a drama story behind it. If you guys enjoy these videos, subscribe to the channel. Have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow. And of course, remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.